Welcome to Rewrite the Mother Code, a podcast that ignites and celebrates your inner mothering essence, equipping you with the tools to live your dream life. I'm Dr. Gertrude Lyons, an author, coach, educator, and a blend of research, scholar, and mystical medicine woman. Join me in exploring holistic women's development, parenting, self-love, relationship fulfillment, and so much more. Let's delve into the depths of our inner mothers to reawaken our greatest selves and live our juiciest lives. In this podcast, we'll have conversations about mothering and motherhood that are real and raw and unlike any other. Through interviews with inspiring guests, live coaching sessions, and reflections on my own journey, Rewrite the Mother Code invites you to explore what it would feel like to stop living by limiting cultural and generational norms and start living and loving a more intentional life that you designed. Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of Rewrite the Mother Code with me, your host, Dr. Gertrude Lyons. And today I'm joined by Inna Segal, and I'm really excited to speak with and meet myself fully and really get into this conversation with Inna, who is calling in from Australia. So we are recording this at 6 o'clock Chicago time, PM, and I think it's 10 a.m. In the morning over there in Australia the next day. So I love that this is even possible. So cool. Anyway, let me tell you a little bit about Inna, and then we'll bring her on. All right. Inna Segal is a pioneer in the field of energy medicine and human consciousness, and the best-selling author of The Secret Language of Your Body, translated into 27 languages and sold over 1 million copies worldwide. Her journey began after years of illness and the tragic stillbirth of her child, which led her to discover a profound ability to heal herself. From that turning point, she dedicated her life to helping others transform pain into freedom. For over 25 years, Inna has worked with people worldwide, from doctors and psychologists to trauma survivors and creatives, teaching how to uncover the true roots of suffering and restore health through the wisdom of the body and soul. Well, if that doesn't wet your whistle, I don't know what if you're into this kind of thing. And if you're not, be curious, right? If you're kind of like, what? That sounds like a bunch of bunk. Whatever your reaction, it's all good. And you will learn and grow and receive. So I just ask you to have an open mind, an open heart, and come on this ride and journey with us. So let's bring her on. Well, as promised, I would like to invite onto the show Inna Segal. Inna, thank you so much for coming on the program today.
Thank you so much for having me on your program.
It's very exciting. I've already shared with everybody some, at least an encapsulation of who you are, what you do, what you're, doing out in the world but of course that's just a snapshot and says, highlights you and your book and some of the work that you're doing. And so I would love, as I usually do, to start off with kind of putting you right in there to go ahead and share some of how you got to be where you are sitting here today, with this big, beautiful book that's sold over 1 million copies, and how you're working with people in the world. And, this was a journey. So if you don't mind, I'd love to have you share some of it.
Thank you. I think that my journey has been through a lot of struggle and suffering around health and pain. And lots of people can relate to this one. And it was challenging because in our Western society, we want to be perfect, especially when we're young. And we see pain or ailments as a sort of failure. in terms of, something's wrong with me, what's wrong with me? I'm defected in some way. And so that's definitely what I thought for quite a period of time. I had psoriasis all over my skin. I had, my elbows, my knees. I had digestive issues. I had lower back pain, which was getting consistently worse. And the moment of transformation for me came when I was in agony, and I was very depressed because I had actually had a child that had died.
So sorry.
And it was horrific. It was a full-term pregnancy, and I actually did not know that this existed in Australia at that time. So I went in with this total naivety that this even happened. And when it did happen, I was so shocked. And I just remember thinking to myself, this only happens in third world countries. So that means there must be something really wrong with me that I don't know about. Because I had just turned 20. So I got pregnant when I was 19. And it was very challenging because I was one of those, people who really thought that I wouldn't have children until I was at least 30. And it was a shock, and it was a difficult decision to go through with the pregnancy when I was that young. And I felt like I'd changed everything in my life. And then this happened. And somehow in my young mind at that time, I thought that I was to blame for it. And that my body was wrong, like it was bad, it was working against me. So that's where I was at. And during that time, because my thinking was so negative, and essentially my thinking was actually just around, I don't want to be here. Like, I don't see the point. I don't want to be here. What's the point of being here? This is too painful. I think one of the things that people don't realize is that even not being able to hold the child that you've given birth to creates physical pain in your arms. Like, you actually don't know what to do with your body. You go, why does this hurt? Why is this so painful? So pain was a constant in my life. And like most people, I tried to disassociate from it. I tried to take medication. I tried all sorts of things to numb it, to get out of my body. And the change that occurred was really about me recognizing that my pain was actually there to guide me towards becoming wiser, deeper, more compassionate, more sensitive kind of person, I think, more deeper as a person. And all of this occurred through me deciding that I was going to heal myself. And I talk about this a lot in my book and lots of podcasts. So I'm just going to kind of give a few details so we can talk about lots of other things as well. But essentially, I was able to tune into my body and realize that there was a language and there was a communication, and that the body wasn't against me or against any of us, that it has a wisdom and an intelligence, and it is guiding us towards expansion. As much as people think that it's actually making us contracted and hurt, I just feel like human beings don't learn very well just from joy. They learn from pain and suffering and struggle, and they learn the lessons that are the most integral, I think, for a human being to learn.
Yeah.
about being a better person, not always, but often. And, for me, I got a lot of insights and understanding both about what caused my body to break down, but also what I needed to do to change that perception and that perspective, how I needed to move forward in my life. So it wasn't just, oh, okay, these are all the things that led up to it. It was like, okay, now you need to think differently, which will impact your feelings and then your actions. So now you've got to become an upgraded person, so to speak. You need it, it's like we have a lot of people who are, who are in that constant victim state.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be one of them. That was what I really learned from that wisdom inside my body, that I had a choice. I could spend the whole, all my life being a victim, or I could become really courageous. And I could help people, and I could help
Yeah.
to demystify in a very practical, logical way the fact that we are more than what we think we are. We do have a soul, and it embodies this physical body, and the perspectives that we hold have a massive, massive impact on our lives. So essentially, our lives and our health are intertwined. Everything we think, how we feel, how we treat everybody around us becomes a reflection of our health.
Yep.
So
No, beautiful.
that's where
Well,
I
there's a lot to
started.
comment on. Thank you. That was beautiful. I'll say a couple things, then we'll kind of keep digging in. But I am, you know, listeners and that know what I speak about, and so this isn't necessarily new, but I love how you're highlighting. I call it in my book one of the cosmic codes, or I'm going to call it a universal truth. However you want to word it. It's just the what I came up with to call these is that pain is our portal. That pain is a portal, and you touched on another one. That we're all connected. We're part of a greater whole, and that we impact and and we're connected. But I think one of them, especially in Western culture, particularly like that, pain is a 4-letter word. Just like you said, when how you first were drawn to deal with it was probably what you saw around you, right? Oh, you medicate it, you numb it, like it's just something you get rid of, versus like allow it to, and I loved the words that you were using, to discover your expansiveness through it. And it is mirrored so much that's, why I love focusing that around childbirth, because we do expand. And then, it's a process that involves some physical pain, but that pain is intelligent. It's, we're partnering with it, and it's something that, can change us forever in more expansive ways than just, and I think you use the word like, rather than contract us, or and I also love that you're talking about, but you can't be in a victim mentality to experience that, right? You're gonna dismiss any kind of notion of that when we want to just blame, and it doesn't mean we can't feel bad or upset, or even like some feeling sorry for ourselves, but if we stay there, we're not going to experience what you're talking about. And that was, the beautiful transformation that it took you on, and that journey.
And if I can add, there's another bit to it that
Sure.
happened, which I sometimes share, depends on who I'm speaking to.
Mm.
And so when I went into the state of absolute numbness, trauma, thinking, well, something's really wrong with me, in a few moments, and I can't tell you time because I think when we have a trauma, we're really out of time.
Mm.
And I was staring at the ceiling, and it felt like everyone kind of faded out and left the room. And I definitely felt like the midwife was not the midwife. It wasn't the midwife that I had thought I was going to have. So
Mm.
it was somebody else. And she was quite rough. Like the way she told
Mm.
me was very rough. It wasn't loving and
Yeah.
kind. And as I was lying there in this shock, at one point, I saw a spiritual being, and
Mm.
it looked like a feminine, angelic being. And
Mm.
she said to me, "You are going to be okay,
Mm.
and you will have two children soon." And she showed me a boy and a girl, and she said, "You know, don't worry, just work through this." And so for the next 3 hours after I had the shock and after I saw her, I actually felt the deepest peace and this
Wow.
sense of, I want to do something with this. Like, I
Mm.
want to educate people. Because
Mm.
this is crazy. I had no idea this happened. There was no education around this. And yes, I was really young, but it also happens to young people. So
Yeah,
it, you know,
like we're sometimes more open to it the younger, we are, but keep going.
yeah. And so I was like, I want to talk about, the fact that um, we we need to be aware of all sorts of things. And so, in particular, the fact that we can lose children, but also to prepare ourselves. And I didn't know how to. I just had no preparation, and
Hmm.
also the fact that maybe there is a spiritual world, and that definitely took me on a journey of, as I was saying, I want to die, but I also want to know what's beyond it. Like, is it do we just die physically? I mean, why
Sure.
did I see this angel and I was in no state to make it up? So I was like, it's definitely not the state that I was in. And
It wasn't this like beautiful, like, oh, I'm seeing an angelic being. It's like I'm at my, scariest, most painful, like
yeah,
most painful experience, and there she is, right?
yeah,
I have goosebumps. That's
yeah.
really beautiful. And
And I was still in lots of
and
pain
you
and
hadn't
suffering
had this,
afterwards.
yeah, exactly. She didn't take it away. She just gave you guidance that and awareness that everything would be okay, and then to have that sense of deep peace with it was the
Yeah,
gift, along with, but and I think that's the human experience that you're sharing so profoundly of what's possible, and that you had never had an angelic presence before. It wasn't something, because
yeah,
sometimes people have been having, senses of this, or, connection. And that at a time like this, it isn't such a shock, right? Like it isn't like, whoa, wait, what's happening here?
yeah.
So for you to have that and hold it and hold that it was real, I think is very brave.
Yeah. And I do want to say to people that even though I had that, I still had a lot of doubt and a
Hmm.
lot of fear. So it wasn't really until I healed myself from all of these, well, the digestive issues took
Mm.
years. So it wasn't until I had experienced healing and that door was open to me even more in terms of
Mm.
what's possible, right? What's possible. And I am a very practical person as well. So, well, my partner doesn't think so, but I think so.
Yes.
So, so it was. It was like a portal. It was
Mm.
opened up for me to explore more of who we are as human beings. And within a few years, I did have two children. So once I had them and they were both healthy, I could breathe out a little bit
Yeah.
and I could
Yeah.
let go a bit and go, okay, so what the angel showed me was real. And on top of that, at one point, this healing experience
Mm.
opened up, but it was so much more than just healing myself. It was all about how do I inspire people to recognize that we're not just an animal, right? That has nothing else. We're not just a body.
Hmm.
We are so much more than that. And there is a divine spark within us, but our physical body also has divinity within and wisdom and intelligence in every part of us. So sometimes when I hear people who are atheists or I meet them, I just get so confused because to me, the fact that your heart is beating without you saying or doing anything is extraordinary.
Hmm.
And how can it just appear from nothing? Like how could we have nothing spiritual or divine to create this body that is so
Hmm.
incredible? I mean, I have been studying the body not from the medical perspective, and that's why
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of when people use that medical intuitive wording. I know that they use it to understand something, but it's not medical. So I think medical should only be used for medicine.
Mm.
Um, but for me, it was that the thing of, wow, you are divine and wise, and there's so much to learn if you recognize that you can just tune in and start to communicate with your body. There is so much to uncover
Mhm.
and discover, and it is a beautiful journey into that, as opposed to let's numb this wisdom, let's
Mm.
numb this, or disassociate from it. But you can't fully, because once you numb something, then something else comes up, because
Mhm.
all medicine has side effects.
Right.
So then you have to numb the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. But we're meant to be alive, right? We're
Mm.
meant to be
Feel it all
awake.
and experience it all, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I love everything that you're saying, and that was a nice distinction, because I'll use that term. I've used that term, and or seen people, or worked with somebody, that would say she's a medical intuitive, and but we always talk about way more than just things that are going on in my body, right? To me, it's like making that distinction is a good one, because it points out that we're you know we're in different kind of languages and processes, and not to confuse them, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
Like medicine does its thing, right? And it has
Yeah.
it's where it works, it's great. Right? And
Absolutely.
I'm
It
really,
saves
happy
lives.
we have it. It saves lives, and there's some really beautiful things. We just get a little too enamored with it and don't. I am very much in your realm of a holistic gal, to go at
Mm.
things from the emotional, the spiritual, the physical, and the psychological, all of it, because we're a system, and we're composed of all those parts. So I only have a problem with Western medicine when it like acts like it's the only way to
Yeah,
heal.
exactly.
That's where,
Exactly.
like, well, all that other stuff, poo poo, and that's just
Yeah.
whatever. So that I have a problem with. But so that being said, well,
Mhm.
let's like get a little specific with it. So I'm now really excited, and I'm sorry I usually. I wish I had read your book ahead of time, because I know but now I'm like even more excited too. So, um, and I hope all my listeners grab it. It'll be in the show notes, everything. But in the book, do you share both your journey and how my audience is predominantly women, right? How women can use holistic healing practices to connect to their bodies, nurture themselves, because I'm also all about self-mothering and deep
Yeah.
deep work on ourselves. Particularly motherhood has its own characteristics, so there's that, but also major life transitions. So in those ways, what have you found, or are there particular ways that you orient people, toward practices to reconnect with our bodies
Absolutely. And I have the
and
book
themselves
here.
and our spirits, all of it, right? There we go. Yeah, hold it up. That's great. Mm-hmm.
So I broke the book up into several different sections, and I did that for a reason, because I really wanted people to expand, as I said, and to become self-empowered. And it's so interesting because I actually hear this from so many practitioners of various modalities. Like, I dropped in onto this on this homeopath the other day, because I wanted to get something for my partner, or we both went, and she said, "Oh my God, thank you so much. Your book is what has helped me to transform cancer, like to heal from cancer." And I hear this from so many people in terms of various diseases. And it's because the body essentially wants us to understand the wisdom of our lives and to step out of what doesn't work and what hurts us into something that can work in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that I wrote the book was that in the first section, I describe my story and I give a similar process that I used to heal myself originally. Mm-hmm. And then I talk about how I put the book together and all the different processes. So in the first section of the book, it goes through all the different parts of our body, because I realized that if we're going to have an illness, it's going to be somewhere. And also with the pharmaceutical industry the way it is, I cannot say that this particular disease is going to be healed in this particular way. It's just like, you can't, you're going to be sued. So there's a little bit of internal kind of exploration that needs to be done by each person, because we're all connected, but we're all unique, and it has to come from within us, right? Like, with curing, and I want to separate medicine from healing. With curing, we cut things out in our Western medicine, which again can save your life. We take medications that suppress all sorts of things. And when you're in agony, I think we all want to have something that gives us a break. Now, on the healing side, with healing, it's in a way the complete opposite of curing. So with healing, we're going within it, and no one can do it for you. So they can help you, they can move some energy, they can do some clearing, right? But the deepest change, where you need to change and hold it, has to be done by you. And so in my book, I have put a process for every part of the body. And sometimes in terms of a disease, you may have issues in several parts. And this is where you need to be a little bit more clearer and specific. So you cannot do 10 different body parts at the same time. that will actually cause you to get confused and hold you back.
Mm.
So you have to be specific with healing, which is, to say, hopefully similar with medicine. In that sense, they are connected. But you also need to connect lots of different pieces together over time,
Mm.
because not everything is revealed to you immediately, right? So in a lot of the processes, I have questions. I have particular protocols where we may work on releasing or transforming a particular belief system or a set of belief systems and
Mm-hmm.
bringing a new perception to the person. Um, in many of the processes, I work with breath, with movement, with pressure points, with color, with
Mm.
emotions, so that we can essentially take all of ourselves, all the senses that we have, and work together with all of ourselves in terms of transforming.
Mm.
And the other thing that I realized was that some people, like myself, are very visual, right? I
That's me
need
for
to,
sure.
yeah, right?
Yeah.
I'm a visual person. I'm really good at visualizing. I've never had an issue with visualizing anything,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not as good, let's say, being auditory. So if somebody gives me, let's say I'm driving, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but let's say I'm driving and somebody is giving me instructions, talking to me in terms of driving, I have to up my level of concentration
Mm-hmm.
in order to decipher that instruction
Yeah.
and follow what they're saying. And it may not even happen, because by the time my mind deciphers it, I might have already done something that I shouldn't have done. Whereas when I see it, I am less likely to make mistakes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is what I realized, was that everybody learns differently and everybody has different parts of themselves that have been developed.
Yeah.
And that's why I tried to put as many different learning styles into the book as I could
That's lovely.
understand at the time I wrote
Mm-hmm.
it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and then the book does go through diseases and what may cause a particular disease.
Yeah.
And I go through all the different colors and how we can use them in terms of vibration and energy, because I actually felt like that was the easiest way to do that and also to work with children.
Mm.
And then I also go through emotions and understanding how, let's say somebody says, well, I'm really angry, and in my exploration, anger is a result of something. So
Mm.
it's a result potentially of feeling judged or or having boundaries, which is the positive
Mm-hmm.
aspect of it, or it could be a result of shame and sadness that has been covered up.
Mm.
So there's that section, and then the last section is about understanding how it all connects through the systems of your body.
That's beautiful. And this is quite an endeavor, to put together what you've put together here. Yes, it was your experience, but you've taken it, and expanded on it. And I'm sure, there was a lot of work involved in bringing this to to the forefront, and doing it yourself, right? Like this was a personal experience that then you extrapolated and got to. Do you feel like it was? I feel like listening to you, and if I was going to make up, like, because we can't talk about every detail of how, like what your process was, but this beautiful combination of your heart, your, soul's experience, and then, like the critical thinking aspect of it, or the I'm gonna I don't know if medical is the right word, but kind of interweaving those is not an easy feat, right? To talk about something holistically and bring in all these modalities, in a way that that works. So basically, that's a long way of saying, like, it's a really big deal what you did, and what you continue to do. And then I was thinking, like, well, I'm not the best. So yes, one, I'm a visual person, but I'm also not the best at, I'll read something like this, like, oh my gosh, yes, that makes so much sense. But to apply it for myself, I usually need, like, to work with somebody, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that, and there's probably people who can just follow the book and follow the protocols and the processes and experience, what is meant to be experienced. Do you also work directly with people in helping them, you know, do the work that's in the book, basically?
I started doing that originally
Mm-hmm.
before I even wrote the book, because how else would you even get experience to understand, right?
Right.
Like, that's the data. The data came from people,
Mm-hmm.
and in terms of what worked. Um, at one point, I realized that for me, the biggest, I guess, support that I can give people is not to necessarily do it one on one, but to do it in groups, to teach
Mm-hmm.
people and to
Yeah.
guide them. And so what I did eventually, I'm going to say during COVID, which
Mm.
I didn't think I would ever do, but hey, things
Hey.
change,
Yep.
um, was to start teaching online and
Mm.
give people an opportunity not just to show up online from wherever you are in the world, because there's lots of places that I didn't travel or couldn't travel, or
Mm.
couldn't travel at the time where some people could come. There's always reasons why live experience can be limited or
Yeah.
limiting. And
Sure.
when we started having access to some technology, and I'm a big believer in balancing technology with nature,
Sure.
but once we had access to it, my whole way of helping and supporting people has changed. And
Mm.
like, sometimes people still say to me, I'm not teaching anything in front of people right now, because I feel so strongly at the moment around giving access to as many people as possible,
Sure.
but not just access, exactly what you just said, how to allow people to have an understanding, because you actually need to understand to be motivated to do
Mm-hmm.
anything.
Sure.
If you don't have an understanding, you're not inspired, you're not going to do anything. And also give them very practical processes that are actually beyond the book, that they can work with on all the different challenges that life presents, whether
Mm.
it's a health challenge, whether it's an emotional one. I mean, they are intertwined, but we
Sure.
can
How it's
experience them
showing
differently.
itself is going to be
Yeah,
more
yeah.
specific. Yeah.
Or it could be, the understanding around relationships, because relationships are so huge.
Mm.
So how do I work with what I experienced as a young person or as a child, and refine and transform it so that it works for me as an adult? And
Mm.
that can work in a sense of my finances, my business, my passion, my children. I actually remember that when I was in my early 30s, I decided to do inner child work, and not from a perspective of what I originally thought inner child work was, which was, oh, fluffy and sugary, but from the perspective of developmental stages. So I wanted to give myself the time to get to know what did I really absorb as a child.
Mm.
And as I was doing that, it occurred to me that I actually didn't know how to be a mother from the perspective of wisdom,
Oh,
because most of us just copy whatever we've seen, right?
exactly. Yep.
It's just so unconscious within us.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I love and adore my mom, and she did some really great things, and she was always there, always present, always supportive of me. But there are things that she did that made me feel unsafe and caused a lot of the health issues that I had.
Sure.
And I realized that by me going through my childhood and teenage years and understanding where when were those developmental stages, and what
Mm-hmm.
actually happened, was I supported and nurtured during those stages, which is not trauma in itself like people would think, but it is where a part of you doesn't grow
Yeah.
or becomes,
It still did. Yeah.
yeah, stilted, stunted, whatever words we want to
Mm-hmm.
use, and actually hurts you and shows up in
Mm-hmm.
ways where you are not aware, but everyone else is. Everyone else is aware that
Yes.
this is coming out. And as I was doing that, it became very clear to me about the kind of parent I did want to be. And that was the time where I actually had to make a decision,
Mm.
my children or my career. And I want to bring this up because it
Yeah, no,
really
please. I was
takes,
going to ask you, that was going to be, kind of one of my ending
yeah,
questions was exactly around where you're going. Of course.
it pains me sometimes where people say you can have it all, because that is not the truth.
No, and that's
You
a
know,
pressure that we put on women, right?
yeah,
Like you think yeah, but okay. You're going
yeah.
to say more
You
about it, which I want to hear.
exactly. You cannot be an amazing parent and work nonstop. It
Mm-mm.
is not possible for this to happen. And I have met so many successful men and women who have children who never see them.
Mm.
And as I was watching this in the circles that I was kind of moving through, I I was doing this in a child work, it occurred to me that parenting is in the detail, and parenting is in listening, parenting is in really showing up and getting to know your child from
Mhm.
the perspective of, this is a soul, and yes, I gave birth to this soul, but they're not mine.
Mhm.
They're their own person, and I want to get to know them instead of impose what I think they should be onto them. And so that was my attitude once I started to recognize things. And my daughter in particular, like she's funny. She says, "Mom, we grew up together."
Mhm. Yeah, I say that. Yes.
And she says, "You know what? The thing was that you never made me feel like I was inadequate even when I was a child." And
Mm.
I remember she said to me, I think she was maybe, I don't know, 4 or something at the time. And she said to me, "Mummy, I love you so, 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 so much." And I said to her, "Oh, that's good." And then she made a really sad face. And she said, "But, I'm really, really sorry." And I said to her, "Why is that?" And she said, "Because I love myself one dot more than I love you.
Oh,
She's like, but it's
oh,
only one dot because I have to love myself more so that I could love you.
oh my God.
And
It's a wisdom from children. And you have, you creating a space for her to have that awareness and hold, yeah, like open a space for her to like to get like that big truth, right? Isn't that
yeah, yeah.
like what we
And
want for them, right?
well, it
100%.
is. And I think it's that thing of empowering your children instead of what I see so many parents do, which
Mm-hmm.
is controlling them, disempowering, suffocating,
Yeah.
limiting them, making them fearful about literally everything. And for me, it was like I created safety because my children knew that if they needed me, I would stand up for them.
Mm-hmm.
But I would only do that if it was warranted. If they were playing games, if they were doing, manipulating, then I wouldn't. And so they actually learned to trust my guidance based on the fact that it was not wishy-washy. It was very
Mm-hmm.
clear. If I disagreed with something, they knew. If I agreed with something, they knew. But I always created space for them to be themselves. And then I would kind of tune into that and encourage them to bring more of themselves out in the way that
Yeah.
worked for them.
Yeah.
So with my son, I saw that he was very creative, very sensitive, and that he was interested in storytelling. So I encouraged him to learn how to film, how to see the world from different
Mm.
perspectives. And even now when we have conversations, he always gives me another perspective, and I'm like, okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And and he's working towards being a director.
Mm.
And my daughter, she was very much into like, I am me. When she was 15, she kept saying, I would call her sometimes, at times I would travel and I would call her and she would go, I'm me. And I was like, hi, me. How are you going? I'm really glad that you are you. And she would just be, someone who was very independent and trustworthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she was trustworthy because she said to me, Mom, you always said to me that you trusted me. And I thought to myself, wow, if Mom trusts me, then I need to prove to Mom that I should be trusted.
I'm
And so
trustworthy.
she said,
Yeah.
yeah. So she said, I always made decisions when I went to parties or did things based on thinking about whether what I'm doing is is healthy and is
Creating
kind of,
trust. Yeah.
yeah, and deserve trust. And so she said, I never rebelled against you because there was nothing to rebel against
Right. We're not.
because you were just there and supportive. And and she knew that I would do anything to stand up for her if she was in danger.
Sure.
So there was a sense of profound
Being
safety.
held.
And
And
it wasn't
yeah,
like she needed me to a lot of the time. She just needed to know that I would.
that you would, and you would be there in a second, should it
Yeah.
get to that point.
Yeah. And that's what I feel that parents don't understand. They don't understand how to create healthy boundaries where it's
Right.
like, hey, this is what's healthy. And now I'm going to trust you.
Yeah. Well, and I think it starts with thank you for like, and because I want that kind of message. We need to have that, spoken. So we're not just following what we, unfortunately, and what I write about in my book about mother codes, one of the codes, and I think this kind of thinking that you're talking about that most parents fall into starts with like particularly the mother feeling like there is a right way to do it. So they're already like scrutinized and feeling like they're trying to like, instead of being in the relationship, being a gardener, versus a carpenter, which is Alison Gopnik's terminology. They're trying to like parent
Mold.
like you would a job, or would like you would, and they're a reflection of you versus you're a steward for them. And I actually just saw Jamie Lee Curtis say this on an Instagram post, and like she's like there's like only one thing that we do in life. I think it's really just this one thing. And as a mother, like that your job is to have them be completely independent of you, to leave
Yeah.
you, to not, that like then if I hate even ever to call it a job, but like that is what you sign up for, when you become a parent, is to do that. So I think you're talking about, and I love the examples you were sharing with your children, because when we step away from that unhealthy paradigm, then this level of trust, of stewarding, of like holding, and they know that you got them, but they also know that you're entrusting them with discovery and making mistakes and living their life, and navigating their life because they can, right? And how beautifully empowering that is. So I think oh my God, there's just so much more. I feel like we just scratched the surface. I know we talk ahead of time. It's like, well, I try, but then I, keep it to a certain time, but it never works because we just get on a roll. And we have, because these are such important topics and messages. And I'm so glad for all the ways, and, that right now your focus is to get it out and share with as many people as possible through your books, your courses, your working with people in groups to start making the shift and understanding. It's a big shift in our Western way of thinking. But once you're there, it's like, from my experience, like, well, this is just what makes sense. Like, what were we thinking in this other realm? So that being said, Ina, I know I've acted like you only have one book. You have several books. So, your books, your courses, all the things. How can people find you? What are the best ways to? I mean, this day and age, of course, all your books are on Amazon, and we'll have things in the show notes. But are there particular ways or places you'd like people to tune in with you?
Absolutely. So the best way is to go to my website, innasegal.com, INNASEGAL.com. And I have a lot of resources like
Mm-hmm.
master classes that I have done that people can access for free. And also, short courses, longer courses, deeper courses where people can jump into it and really do the deeper work with the support and with processes that they can work with again and again, like you were saying,
Good.
Gertrude,
Yeah.
where they can be guided and listen to it whenever they need. Because when I teach workshops, we edit them and then we separate the processes from the information so that people can keep coming back to it and go, oh my God, wow, I don't remember listening or hearing this before, or let me do this process again. And all you have to do is follow the guidance, essentially, rather than,
Right.
like you said, taking the book and trying to do it yourself is a lot harder
Yeah.
than if you are being guided. And because when
Have
you're
some
being guided,
support, some accountability, like
yeah,
in it with,
yeah, you're in
and
the
you feel that
process.
being held, like you were talking about with your children, right? Like you're being held.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And funny enough, most of the processes where we're going deep into inner work also help us to awaken that wise self, if you're a woman, wise mother
Yes.
within yourself. And I think, that is so important in
Mhm.
terms of self-nurturing. I think women carry so much guilt
Oh my gosh.
within them,
Crazy.
right? It's
Yes.
like we don't know how to give back to ourselves because we're always feeling guilty
Mm-hmm.
about, the fact that we're not doing enough for everybody else. And this is why, I wanted to say that whole thing, and I want to end with it, that you cannot be a superwoman that's doing everything without getting sick.
No.
You just can't.
No.
And you need to become aware of cycles and time periods and actually go, right, this is the most important time for me to be present with my children, even though maybe my career or something else is trying to pull towards at
Mm-hmm.
me. Because I don't know, I just think as a mother, you you can never receive the same satisfaction from your career or anything else as you do from seeing your children become good people and healthy
Mm-hmm.
people. And no matter how much I've done and how much I've taught and helped people, I still keep coming back to the fact that I'm so grateful that I stopped
Mm-hmm.
traveling at the time when my children were at that age where you kind of go, I need to hold them. I need to be here for
Mm-hmm.
them. And even though maybe I'm not going to be as recognized or successful as I could have been, this is more important. And I think it's the best job ever, right?
Yeah.
And it's the,
It's such a it's such a beautiful experience and opportunity for sure.
and so don't pass up that beautiful experience just because people don't value it,
Right.
right?
No, this
You
is about
value
you.
it. Yeah,
Exactly. And you tuning into
really
that part
value
of
it.
yourself. Well, I think you've
It's beautiful.
actually answered, but I'm going to, you know, let you summarize it with, because what I always ask at the end of every episode is, what does rewrite the mother code mean to you? I think you just actually said it. But if you want to sum it up in a sentence or two of what you just said, not even, just what is, because it is what you just said, but what does
Mhm.
rewrite the mother code mean to you?
I think for me, it really means putting my children first,
Mm.
but not in a way where I'm damaged, but in a way that I constantly feel like I'm holding space for them to be the best versions of themselves, and they can make mistakes, they can fall, they can have meltdowns, and they know that they're loved, and that within myself, as as an evolving person, as an evolving
Hmm.
woman, I can allow them to grow in their own time and space, and be the guide and be that presence when they need it and ask for it, and hold the space for them to go through whatever they need to go through when they do, even though I might want to save them or I might want to do something, and just really kind of allowing them, but for them to always know that I have their back and that I'm there for them.
Hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. That's a great summary. um, this has been such a pleasure, and there's so much I'm resonating with and connect with in it, and I'm so grateful you're doing that. You've chosen to take your experience and bring it out into the world in such a powerful and profound way, and I personally believe that it's this kind of work that is, going to help us heal as a planet and survive as a planet. And we need this, and we need you. And I'm personally very grateful, and I can't wait to even explore more with what you're doing. So thank
Thank
you.
you so
Thank you for
much.
being here. It was hard to let Ina go. So much was pouring out of her, and so much I wanted, you to hear because it was all so good. I'll just underline a couple things that I wanted to bring to focus for us, you know, uh, particularly when we got to the part about mothering and some of well, the codes that we have that she was naming and bringing to the forefront, but not, using my nomenclature codes, around, children being this thing that we're supposed to. Okay, scratch that extra for now. Let's like start that over. I'm doing a little too much blah blah. I should have recorded right after it because now I'm coming back to it and like, okay. Hmm. What a beautiful time with Inna. I feel very grateful to have had her on the show and to, hear another person who used the opportunity of something so profound and significant that they experienced. And I feel really honored that she shared the part about, being visited by an angel that guided her, but then, to, yes, change her life from it and follow her intuition from there and go through everything that she went through process, but then to really ultimately realize like this is other people could do this. We need to know this. And if I have someone who's had the experience and then working with others and gathering data, now I have a way to influence people. And I always love it. And I just want to underline with protocols that yes, you can do workshops on it and you can do that. But essentially, you can do yourself, right? It's very easy and capable, and this is why this kind of knowledge, wisdom, and putting ourselves back in the driver's seat, so to speak. You know, the medical world and insurance companies, all that, they don't like it. They don't want us to have that power back, and so why it's so so important, for people like Inna to get out there and have us understand that there's abundance and looking at things holistically doesn't have to take away from the western medical paradigm. It could add to it, and this is to me what it would look like when masculine and feminine energies work together and in synergy and in support of each other and in service of our highest good and healing, and understanding that it's a lot bigger than any one protocol or system or way that you know has its own power and that, but it it really works and really works for transformation and healing when in conjunction with the other holistic modalities. So yay yay, celebrating um, for that and for her willingness and courage to get out there, and then the to make a big choice in understanding that it's just this big myth that we can have it all, that we can have a 100% full on full time outside of the home work and mother full time, right, and parent full time. It's not possible, right? We have to make choices, we have to make decisions on a structure that feels good to us and that works, for our benefit, but and that, then for our children's benefit. So I really want to, you know, honor her for that. And that is something that I, we just kind of passed over. But like when she said her daughter said, Mommy, we grew up together. That isn't, I just want to make sure it was clear that, she wasn't saying, oh, her daughter raised her, because that can happen, right? When parents are irresponsible and aren't taking a responsibility when a child feels like they have to become the grown-ups. That is not at all what she was talking about. It's much more the like, oh, we get to grow up together. Like I get to learn and grow with my child. And the fact that, her daughter recognized that is really beautiful. But that is something that I don't think it's talked about enough, is that we don't come into parenting, mothering as experts, anything but, right? It is a journey that we really must go on together, and it can be really beautiful in that way. So I want to underline those points, and thank you so, so much for tuning in. I can't wait till next time. And as always, if you're not following me, please do follow, leave reviews. It's been a while since I've asked for that. It's been a while since I've asked for reviews for my book. So all of that just adds to things being able to be seen by more and more people, which I would love. And as Ina said, like, want to reach a lot of people and get messages out. And these are some of the ways we can do it. So have a beautiful day or beautiful evening, wherever you're at. And until next time, thank you so much. Thank you for being with me on this episode of Rewrite the Mother Code. Dive in even deeper into the content by visiting drgertrudelyons.com. And that's drgertrudelyons.com, where you'll find comprehensive show notes, blog posts, and ways to work with me. If this episode resonated with you and you believe in the significance of this transformative work, take action now. Hit that subscribe button and share this episode with a friend who could benefit from some mother healing. Your support means the world to me, and I'm eager to hear your thoughts. Leave a review today. Every word fuels the strength of Rewrite the Mother Code. I personally read and respond to each review, so your feedback is invaluable in shaping the future of the show. Together, let's empower our communities and create lasting change. Until we meet again, know that I'm cheering you on every step of the way.